Hey, welcome to Animal Drive, and today guys I have a 2025 Kia Telluride that has a 3.8 liter naturally aspirated V6 engine with 291 horsepower. It's a front wheel drive model, S-trim, and I have 3 burning questions for this car. As you may know, Kia Telluride getting a lot of awards from different magazines. For example, in 2020 you got a Car of the Year award by Motor Trend channel, and I even looked up in 2024 News and Report ranked this as the best family 7-seater SUV. So for question number 1, it got me wondering, is this car as good as, let's say, BMW X7 but just for half of the price? For question number 2, how does this Kia Telluride stacks up against its biggest rival, Toyota Highlander, in terms of the ride quality? That's the car actually I reviewed on my channel, but I reviewed the hybrid model. So if you want me to bring the 4-cylinder turbo model on the channel, let me know in the comments. And for question number 3 is, how does this Kia Telluride feel like to drive? Now, if you're a first time on my channel, well, this is the channel where I say, before you buy a Kia Telluride or any other car, don't settle for a 5-minute test drive around the dealership block. Instead, rent a similar car like I did and drive it for at least 100 miles on city streets, highway, and twisty roads to be able to answer the biggest question I'm answering on this channel: how does it feel to drive? And first, a 1-minute walk around this Kia Telluride just to look at its exterior. And I think the love with this car begins with its exterior styling. Now, this is an S-trim that has a lot of chrome finishes. Not my favorite, to be honest with you. I like when it's all blacked out, but you know, it's subjective. I mean, look at these headlamps, how cool they are. I think this car looks really stylish, and that's what people like, you know, as you know, their first sight kind of love starts with that. Now, these are 20-inch upgraded wheels. These are 245/50 R20 Kumho Krugen tires. These are South Korean tires, and they're used on SUVs a lot, and I'll discuss them as we drive this car. Overall side profile looks good. This car is kind of massive, but to me it doesn't feel as massive. It actually feels pretty good, and we'll discuss what does it feel like driving it on the road. Coming on the rear, again, very distinct tail lights, very recognizable. Doesn't, you know, I don't like these chrome finishes like I said, but again, this is up to you. Let's look at the trunk. Of course, this is all you need, right? Huge trunk. You can find a lot of videos. I mean, you can use this for camping as well, to lay everything flat, put a mattress, and then, you know, camp out on this car. All right, now let's look at the door quickly, the door sound check. Now, it's a heavy door. It doesn't feel really satisfying, but for this class, I think it feels better than Toyota's. All right, let's get on the inside. Getting on the inside, one thing I wanted to discuss the interior quality. Now, what caught my attention with this Kia Telluride is last week I went to the LA Auto Show and had a chance to really, you know, sit in all these cars and, you know, touch and feel like they're basically doors, what they feel like. And honestly, Kia stood out the most among like Toyota, Hyundai, Honda, and even Chevy, because its interior, even though they don't use like a high-end premium material, like you don't see stitching and stuff, but these things are really, really well molded. This is, you know, soft touch. You know, this is a plastic, some plastic pieces, but everything looks still quality, even though, you know, in Toyota you also see plastic and all that. But the thing about Toyota, like some of these things, when you bump them like this, they feel a little loose, and the upper trims, like I showed on the RAV4 even, they feel like scratchy kind of compared to Kia. Like this lower trim, yeah, that doesn't look like a high-end quality material. You can, you know, scratch it easily, but still doesn't look bad. And now when you get on the inside here into the cabin, this is the second thing where people fall in love with this cabin, because it looks premium. Okay, it totally does look premium, even though, you know, we do see, like I said, some plastic stuff like these pieces right here, and if you press them, they creak a little bit. This is plastic, but this plastic even on like a high-end Mercedes also. So, you know, this can creak a little bit if you press them. Of course, you're not going to be driving and pressing them, but over the time, over the years, they might, you know, develop some little creaks, you know, little rattles. But overall, I mean, everything looks very nice to the touch. Even the plastic components, yes, these are chrome shiny stuff, not a fan of, but overall not bad. A lot of cabby areas, and the seats, they are not, you know, firm, they're not soft. They feel pretty good, and you have a lot of options to upgrade your seats. You can even use Alcantara here right in upper trim. So there's so many ways to customize your Kia and to make it look even more premium. So this is the second thing where people fall in love is interior, because it looks very upscale. In my opinion, maybe even looks better than the outgoing BMW 7 Series, because you know, you have buttons that are usable, and overall it doesn't look bad at all. Let me know what you think. And here in the rear, there's plenty of legroom. I mean, honestly, there's no point in reviewing the middle row, because all cars in this segment have a lot of room for head and your legs, because it is designed for comfort, right? I just want to quickly point out the climate control center here. It's on the roof here, and it's very easy to like manage it. I really like that. Then here you have your 12-volt socket. You can put whatever you want here. Your charging, your little thing to put stuff in there, like your magazine, and enjoy your ride. Now, you're not getting a panel roof here. It's just a quick sunroof, because this is an S trim. But like I said, you can upgrade this car to as much as you want. And this is what it looks in the rear. Now, I'm using it as a cargo area right now. All right, enough of that. Let's go ahead and drive it. And first, I'm gonna drive Kia Telluride in the city. So I'm gonna throw the car in a sport mode just to get a kind of feel of acceleration. No cars, and let's go. All right, so officially kind of this car is rated 0 to 60 around 7 seconds. How does it feel driving it in the real world, right? It feels pretty adequate. Sometimes I would even say satisfying. Now, it's not like blazing fast. For example, cars like BMW X7, right? It's a premium car, would feel more satisfying. Even though it's a big car, 7-seater, but that car would have more power, like going power. But even this feels really good overall. And I think that's another thing that people like about this Kia Telluride, is that you get that decent power. All right, coming to the stop, let's go. I am in sport mode. And it goes. I'm not gonna go really fast here, but to basically get an idea, in sport mode, it does shift a little quicker, it revs a little higher. Sometimes I do feel transmission hangs here and there in the higher RPMs before like shifting, which doesn't feel as premium, but it feels overall all right. And actually, I don't really have any complaints about this transmission. It shifts pretty smoothly. It finds the right gear. It doesn't wander too much like some cars do. All right, another quick pull. All right, a little wheel slip from the front tires, and I do get a little torque steer. So in some modern cars like Toyota, for example, they pretty much resolve that issue. Like even the front wheel drive models might have little wheel slip, but you won't feel any torque steer. Here you do feel some torque steer, like your steering wheel will start going left, right a little bit. It's not bad, but what that tells me that I would definitely get all-wheel drive model, because that'll give you more confidence overall, especially in wet conditions, and of course, if you are in snowy conditions, like you live in Colorado somewhere, then you definitely want to get all-wheel drive model. Now, what about the brakes, right? The brake pedal feels good. It's actually on the medium side, and overall, the way car stops feels fairly satisfying. Now, let me put it back in the comfort mode. Now, let's say Toyota, right, uses the new 2.4, I believe, the turbo engine. I reviewed a Lexus RX 350 that had that engine, and that is going to be even louder, more like a revvy kind of engine. And in Toyota, it will shift even a little quicker. It'll rev higher and shift a little quicker. But some people I know left comments on my videos under Lexus video that most folks want V6, right? Like you want this engine because it just feels more potent, kind of, it sounds better. It feels like it has more top end power, and it just feels right for this big car than the 4-cylinder turbo engines, right? Like Mazda got criticized quite a bit for having that engine, especially the fact that you have to deal with some turbo lag, and you have to manage it in a way that with mid-range power, it doesn't feel like there's too much turbo lag. But this car doesn't have that. There's no turbo, so it feels just right. It just feels natural, right? It's a naturally aspirated engine that makes it feel very natural. All right, so brakes are also good. Next, let's discuss steering in this car. Steering is kind of like on the medium to light. And if you change the modes, it will adjust a little bit. Like in the sport mode, it does tighten up a little bit. It just gives a little bit more resistance kind of. Now it doesn't feel as direct. This car is not tuned to be, you know, like a quick turner, so to speak. Now, Toyota to me felt like it would steer a little quicker. It was a lighter steering in Toyota Highlander, but it felt a little quicker. Like the car, like you can toss around Highlander a little faster, and Highlander also feels a little bit lighter on its feet, even though they're about the same size. This car feels a little bit more planted, a little bit heavier, and that adds to the premiumness of this car. So this feels a little bit like more premium, I would say, than the Toyota. The cabin feel, the way it behaves on the road, like it's being a little bit more settled, and that gives it a little bit more premium character, I would say, to this Kia Telluride versus the Toyota. Now, for folks who are wondering, like, why would you spend double the money and buy, let's say, BMW X7, right? I've driven X7 on few occasions. I have a BMW X3, and I've been given X7 as a loaner. So how that car is different? Well, first of all, it has a lot more power, right? It has a B58 inline 6-cylinder engine that has a lot more power. At the same time, it's more fuel efficient, believe it or not. And it steers a lot more sharper. Like the BMW gives you more confidence. Like that's the car you can quickly accelerate. It brakes with more confidence. It steers quicker. It's like a more nimble. So that's the reason you pay more money to basically buy those kind of vehicles like a X7 or Range Rover, because they use more tech, right, to do the stuff. Or basically what they do is they make a big car look like it's light, like it's more effortless with how it's accelerate and how it steers. As I'm just answering, you know, for folks who never maybe bought, you know, premium cars or wondering like, come on, just get Kia Telluride. You don't need to, you know, spend double the money to get a BMW. Well, they are different. So that's answering my first questions. As much as I like this vehicle, as much as it does have some premium feel to it, it is still far from the premium automakers like a BMW X7. They use more tech, like I just explained, to make them faster and have better handling. So now let me go ahead and drive it on the bumpy roads to discuss the suspension in this car. Driving Kia Telluride on my favorite Tampa Avenue to hit all those little potholes, to basically discuss what does it feel like driving this car on beat up roads, right? And overall, this vehicle is comfortable. Let's face it, all the 7-seaters will, you know, prioritize comfort, right, over sport or anything. Even like BMW X7 is also all about comfort. But let's say compared to Toyota, this car feels slightly more athletic. Now, when it soaks the bumps, I can tell tires are really good in this car. I really like the soft rubber that you feel in this car. But the suspension does not feel like it has a gliding motion over the bumps. Like, in a sense, yes, it is designed for comfort, but it doesn't give you that premium feel when it, you know, glides over those little imperfections, and it makes it feel like it's satisfying, you know, like you want to hit those bumps. Toyota to me felt a little bit smoother going over the, you know, imperfected road than this, but I cannot say that this is better than Toyota or Toyota is better than this car, because they're just distinct characters. And you may prefer this car maybe, or you may prefer Toyota. It just lacks the sophistication in the damping, which is fine for this price, you know, but overall it's pretty comfortable. And like I said, it has a little feel of that athleticism. So now I want to discuss what is the overall feel like driving this vehicle, right, in day-to-day life. Now I've been spending 2 days with this car, and this is why I say rent this car before you buy it, right? So you can spend more time with it and see if this car fits your character. Maybe you'll like this car, maybe you'll like the Highlander more. You definitely want to drive them both and then make your decision. Now, one thing I can say, the reason folks like this car for the money is that the feel here, it doesn't feel like I'm a dad with like 5 kids, you know, even though let's say I were to have 5 kids. Like, it doesn't feel like this car is like, you know, you're like car you just had to get because you need a 7-seater. No, it does feel stylish. It feels upscale, even though this is S trim. It's not even those higher EX whatever Pro trims. Even this feels pretty good. The driving dynamics feels just right in this car. Now this car is not designed for speed, it's designed for comfort, and it does offer a tick of athleticism in terms just the way it moves, because it feels kind of heavier, feels very settled. It feels right. The acceleration pedal feels right. The brakes feel good. So overall, it's a good feel. Now, yes, it does not feel as premium as the premium automakers, as it doesn't have those components, but it doesn't have to be, because for this class, you know, that's not what it's trying to do, and it's not what it's trying to be. But overall feel in this vehicle, I feel it's more upscale than in a Toyota. Now, not to say Toyota is bad or anything like that, but it just delivers more luxury. It just delivers more feel-good kind of, you know, just the way you feel about it, right? All right, so now let's go ahead and drive it on the highway. I'm about to merge the highway and just kind of experiencing this rough road more. And, you know, it's overall not bad. Like I said, doesn't feel premium, but it feels still comfortable. The seats are pretty well cushioned, so definitely a good place to be. And it feels pretty commanding sitting in this car. All right, now let's put it in sport mode and floor it. Merging the highway. Let's go. There was a little wheel slip. You hear that potent 6-cylinder engine. So that's one thing about these big cars, because you don't want them to sound drony like the, you know, the hybrid Toyota Highlander does. It does a job though, but it does feel drony with that eCVT. So this has good old school ingredients that do the job for sure. First thing I want to do on a highway is check the sound insulation. And let's hit the 65 and let's check. 63, it's around 63, which is pretty quiet. So how does it feel overall, right? Well, you don't hear cars around you. What you do hear though is kind of trapped wind around the windshield. Like when you go especially a little bit faster, I'm not gonna tell you how fast, but basically a little bit faster, you feel there's more wind kind of traveling around the windshield. Kind of normal, but I know some vehicles don't have that. You hear it a little less. So that's one thing you may notice. Nothing like excessive, but it's just something I observed. Overall, you know, it's a very pleasant, comfortable car to be in. By the way, if you guys didn't know, it has a smart drive mode, something I kind of read about. When you put it in smart drive mode, basically it kind of measures your inputs, how you drive, basically your driving behavior, and it kind of adjusts from eco mode to comfort mode and sport mode based on your driving style. So basically Kia is kind of learning your driving style to, you know, and then in that smart mode you can kind of automate that, right? So it tries to read your inputs, like what are you trying to do? Are you cruising? Are you driving more, you know, aggressively? So it adjusts automatically, but I'm gonna just throw it in comfort mode and then just stay in that. Now, of course, this car is really good for long journeys. Like I said, seats are fairly comfortable. You have all your adaptive cruise features. You know, that stuff is pretty basic. The next thing I want to check is the mid-range power in this car, right? So we're gonna stay in comfort, as most people are gonna stay in, and I'm gonna floor it. Yeah, it takes like a second and it builds the power. Yeah, it's not like blazing fast. It's not even satisfying fast. It's just decent. I honestly expected it to have a little bit more torque. You know, it doesn't feel as torquey. It doesn't like, kind of thought it would be a little bit faster, honestly. Let's do it again. So driving, floor it. Yeah, and it builds power. Of course, you know, you have enough power to overtake cars. It just doesn't feel as, you know, quick, I would say. So let me put it in sport mode, and then one more time we're gonna try this just to see if it's gonna be a little bit more responsive. Driving, floor it. Yeah, it's slightly more responsive. Actually, this feels like it builds power a little quicker because it comes from the lower gear, right? So once again, floor it. Yeah, it shifts lower and it stays in lower gear, so it just builds power quicker. But then it hangs also in the higher RPMs. Still hasn't shifted. Yeah, it thinks that I'm gonna drive it aggressively, that's why. So maybe that's the part that they're trying to learn. What are you trying to do? Are you trying to drive fast? And that's why maybe it hangs in the lower gears. Anyway, enough of that. It has kind of interesting, unique characteristic to it. I don't know if I like it or not. That's something I would find out in long-term driving. But I'm quite pleased, you know, driving this vehicle. It's not something like out of this world. It's basically what I expected from this car. Maybe I expected a little more, but I think it delivers. It delivers what you need in this price category, whether you're buying it because you have bigger family or you want to use it for long trips, let's say go to national parks, you know, even use it as a camper. I think it'll deliver on that. Now, let me take it to the twisty roads where I'm going to discuss its balance, safety, just to see overall what does the chassis feel like if we put it more to the stress. And now driving Kia Telluride on the twisty road. Let's go. I am in a sport mode, quick wheel slip. All right, so what are we trying to do here, right? We're trying to see the balance of this car. Basically, is it safe if somebody were to brake in front of us? How would this car would behave, you know, like how would its chassis most importantly behave? And that's the reason why I drive all my vehicles on the twisty roads. If this is the first time you're watching my channel and I'm explaining you, if not, then you know why I'm doing this. So I'm gonna take some turns in this vehicle to see basically, you know, what is it like to put this car a little bit more to the stress. And here in California, it's very easy to do because there's so many canyon roads to experience this. So here we go, guys. Kia Telluride, right? It's a big 7-seater, and overall it feels pretty pleasant driving this car on the twisty roads, even though it has a heavy chassis. Tires do a really good job gripping here. In Highlander video that I'm gonna link, I basically mentioned that tires felt overwhelmed, and also there was some body roll and lean in that vehicle because it's a softer suspension setup than here. Here, this car, especially on the twisty roads, feels a little bit more athletic, and chassis feels firmer, even though, you know, it's still comfortable, but it does a pretty good job to stay planted. Now, one thing you will notice though, when there are some uneven surfaces, especially in the corner, a chassis will do a little quick moves up and down, right? And that's because we don't have electronically controlled suspension. Like when you have electronically controlled suspension, then at higher speeds and then turns, shocks will keep the car more down. But when it's a regular suspension setup, it has to, you know, be more universal, like being comfortable, being able to basically, you know, drive more aggressively, being able to tow, all these things. And I'm pretty pleased to say that this car feels safe. You know, there's no wondering, no funky stuff with the chassis. I know that, you know, if I were to go faster, the car will slip, but it will feel still in a controlled way. Now, when I do quick left, right moves, yeah, I don't feel anything unsafe in this vehicle. So, you know, that's pretty good, right? So when you have a dangerous situation, you'll be able to overtake the car and the chassis will behave predictable. So that's the keyword here, predictable. Yeah, I like that. I like that cars like these, big, heavy cars, even though they're comfortable, but they're still designed really well for safety. And after driving it here, this is where you start appreciating this vehicle more. Yeah, it holds, guys. It holds really well through this corner. Nice, good job. Doesn't dance. A little bit of up and down kind of movement, which I wish wasn't there, but it's forgiven. You know, for this chassis, for this price, it is pretty capable. I can even say you can have a little bit of fun on your back roads, you know. So moms can drop kids in school and hit some Mulholland Drive and just have some fun on the back roads. So there you go, guys, a quick demo. So now let me go ahead and answer these burning questions that I had in the beginning of the video and kind of sum this up. And I just finished driving Kia Telluride in the city, highway, and twisty roads, and here are my final thoughts. So what does it feel like driving Kia Telluride? Well, first of all, you will find yourself in pretty upscale cabin, And I first noticed that in the late auto show when I really had a chance to sit in all these 7-seaters, you know, all the competitors, and I found that this cabin felt the most upscale. And when you drive this vehicle, it kind of reinforces the point. Now, as far as driving dynamics, I didn't find any distinct character that this car has that makes it kind of stand out so much. It just does everything right. It has a decent acceleration, it has a decent comfort. Yes, it has some athletic notes, but it doesn't step into the class of like a luxury vehicles like a BMW X7. It's, you know, in this class that it should be. And like I said, it just does everything right. And that's what good about this vehicle, right? Now, at the same time, it doesn't feel old school, it doesn't feel boring, and at the same time, it doesn't feel fun. So it's kind of like, you know, it's just kind of in the middle. Now, to answer the next question, how does it feel against the Toyota Highlander? Well, the Highlander is more softer, has lighter steering, but at the same time, I don't want to discount Toyota. It's still very well balanced, and some folks will prefer that vehicle over this vehicle. Now, other folks will say, hey, what are you talking about? This car drives so much better. And that if you want slightly firmer, a little bit more planet, maybe a car that feels a little heavier and definitely more upscale than Highlander, well, then this is the car to get. Now, does it step into the BMW territory? And the answer is no, it does not, right? I had a little curiosity whether it does or not, but it doesn't. It doesn't use the ingredients that make it do such a thing. It doesn't have a sophistication in its suspension. It doesn't have that, you know, more torquey engine like a BMW has. Yes, materials are somewhat upscale, and I think in that, like interior-wise, it could compete with the BMW for sure. But in terms of driving dynamics, it doesn't. So that's just answering right there. So let me know what you think. Are you guys considering this vehicle? If you're the owner of one, let me know your comments. Like, do you like it? I personally found after spending 2 days with this car is that it kind of grew on me. First, I was like, okay, nothing special. But as I spent more time with it, I started liking it more. So that's my conclusion with this car. So let me know what you think. And if you want to watch my Toyota Highlander video, I'm going to link it right here. And also, guys, if you're looking for a dash cam, and everyone should have one, there's a tiny dash cam that I tested on my channel and I highly recommend. I'm going to leave a link in the description. And I'll catch you in my next video.